Hey everyone, it's Mark from the Wave Shop. Today I'm going to show you a behind the scenes look at the sound effects for Final Cut King's video RC battle. If there's something specific that you want to hear about, you can skip around using the annotations, but otherwise I hope you stick through it to the end and I'll show you the video without the music so you can hear the sound effects in detail. So let's start by looking at the sounds of the tanks. Now normally I would just, go out to my backyard and record the tank that I have sitting back there. But someone was using it today, so I had to figure out a different way to make a tank sound. So I started by taking the sample of an oil pump that I had and pitch shifting it down to make it sound a little more meaty, a little more angry. So here's that sound. And then I thought, okay, maybe I add the sound of a truck to that. So here's that with the truck sound in it. And then lastly, I needed to kind of beef it up a little bit, so I added some low frequency rumble, and that's down here. So here's the sound of the tank in full. Now we had about 3 tanks in this video, so I had to think of a way to distinguish them aurally. So I actually pitch shifted the oil pump a different amount for each tank. So this is the first tank. Here's the sound of the second tank. And then lastly, here's the sound of the third tank. So that's just the oil pump sound, and then I added in the same truck and low frequency rumble to each of those to make 3 distinct tank sounds. Now let's talk about the low frequencies. Now most people, I bet, didn't even notice this because they probably watched it on their iPhone. But if you watch it on a set of, bigger speakers, nicer speakers, you'll hear that there's a lot of carefully thought out low frequencies going on. So I'll just play the low frequencies for a little bit and show you what happens. So here's with the tank moving. And then later on when we have some explosions. So you probably can't hear that if you're still watching this on your phone, but that low frequency energy really gives the listener a more immersive experience because they can then feel those impacts and those explosions. Now let's look at the tank shots. Now I'm sure someone out there recognized that this isn't the actual sound that a tank like this would make, even at full scale, but that's okay. I'm all right with that for a 1.5-minute YouTube video. So let me show you the elements that go into each shot. So I started with this low gun sound. It's kind of a thud, it's got a lot of power behind it. And then I added in this long tail gunshot. Now, if I left it at that, it would be a little thin. So I added in 2 low frequency elements to make the final shot sound like this. So that's the sound of the tank shots. And each one is a little bit unique based on how I mixed it and some of the elements that go into it. Now let's take a look at the explosions. In this particular explosion, there are about 17 sounds layered on top of each other. So let me play it for you first. So some of the elements that go into this explosion are low frequency energy, which sounds like this. On top of that, I put a little bit of a fire explosion sound and a little bit of a metal explosion. And then I wanted the sound of the tank itself tumbling around. So I used some metal sounds and I pitch shifted those down. So with those added in. And then lastly, I added in the sound of the earth itself exploding and then kind of falling from the air. So here's that in total. To achieve the walkie-talkie sound effect, I used EQ and a saturation plugin. So this is what it sounds like before.
Fire in 3, 2, 1.
So I added in this EQ because walkie-talkies don't pick up that nice warm low end or those extreme highs. So it's very mid-range heavy. So this is what it sounds like.
Fire in 3, 2, 1.
And then to give it a little more grit, I added this saturation plugin so that whenever he would speak louder, it would distort a little bit. So this is what it sounds like.
Fire in 3, 2, 1.
And then to get the classic sound before and after he talks, I just put some pink noise there.
Fire in 3, 2, 1.
And over here, right after the explosion, when the soldiers are kind of, shaken up a bit, I added some pink noise in the middle of what he was saying to kind of break it up. So you can see those right here and here. So that sounds like this.
Hey, we're taking on some fire here. We're gonna need some air support now.
So that just gives you that kind of breaking up effect. Alrighty, enough of me talking. Let's watch the video without the music so we can hear the sound effects. And afterwards, if you still have any more questions, comment below. I tried to keep this as short as possible, but if you have any more questions, I'll try to answer them. And don't forget to rate and subscribe if that's what you like to do. Thanks.
RC Battle, Scene 1, Take 2, and action.
We have enemy tanks in range. Let's blow these suckers up. Fire in 3, 2, 1. Hey, we're taking on some fire here. We're gonna need some air support now. Copy that, Sergeant. We're on our way.